When you have older oxidized aluminum covers on your bike, could be an ignition cover, especially if they're unpainted. Through the years, there's pitting, there can be some gouges in there, some nicks. Sometimes if it's on the left side, the shift or your boot from racing can wear some marks in there. I want to show you a little bit about what I did to resolve some of that. Just as I mentioned a moment ago, you could see some of the oxidation and some of the pitting alongside the edge of this case. Also, there's some marks from where the shifter or the boot of the rider may have been hitting the case, right there where I'm pointing. The thing I had to be careful with here is there's just a slightly rounded edge, and I didn't want to wear that edge away. So I started off with a little 240 grit sandpaper and gently began sanding even beyond where those gouges and nicks were. You want to try and take down an even amount as possible when you're sanding out damage like that. Also, in some of the areas that are oxidized, you want to spend a little more time going around and getting out the oxidation as much as you can before polishing. The longboard, my longboard rubber board there was a big help in this too, taking off the material a little bit more evenly and keeping it a little flatter in some areas. I still had to work with my thumb and my fingers around some of those circular edges there, but as you can see there, a lot of it has come out. Probably spent a little over an hour, at least, probably an hour and a half, just doing this sanding with the 240 and using the longboard as well. Once you get it down to where you think you got it really, really clean, you'll be able to go out on the buffing wheel like I did here, spray a little water on that wheel just to get the compound moving around, and I begin to polish the wheel as I normally would any polished part. What I noticed was still, especially now that it has a shine on it, you see little imperfections even more. I went back inside, grabbed some 320 grit sandpaper, and began to chip away a little bit more, sanding back and forth, up and down, around, using that 320 to get the finer things out. These are things that will not show up sometime until you do polish. So as good as you get it, you may find something else. Don't get discouraged when that happens. You just have to go over it again with a little bit finer sandpaper. You'll go back out there to your buffing wheel if that's what you're using, and you're going to polish it again. And as you'll be able to see here in just a minute, I don't polish that quickly. Jordan speeds all that up for us so we can see it all much faster. But you could see here now where there's a nice finish on the ignition cover. It's come out nice and shiny, not over shiny, not like a mirror, but just pretty much what you'd expect, maybe a level higher than what you'd expect on a bike that's 45 or 50 years old. So, sandpaper, patience, time, a little polishing, you'll get the results that I got here in about, in a few hours. Depends on what you have and the part you have. Now, just as I recommended this for a polished part, I would still recommend it if you have painted parts for your bike that have suffered some scrapes, scratches, nicks, and maybe the paint had worn away and there's some oxidation. Still do the same process. You don't have to polish it, of course, but still do the same process to get it all down before you paint it, and you'll get a nice product in the end, something like we had right here.